In this video, we are going to break down Diet Coke by Fallon on Experts Only. And just to give a little preview of what the track is, let me just play from over here.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet.
And then over here.
All the girls standing in the line for the bathroom. All the girls standing in the line.
And then.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet. All the girls.
So super cool vocal, very simple track, but that just makes it that much more powerful. And actually, since this is such a good arrangement, what I want to do is I want to do something slightly different today and follow what I have as the HG2 formula cheat sheet, because this track is a good example, although it breaks a rule in a really cool way. So you may have heard that Picasso quote, which is learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. Well, we're going to cover a lot of the kind of, you can say like rules or kind of like guidelines that the producer is following, Fallon is following in this track, but then a really cool one that he's kind of breaking a little bit for a great effect and for a very good reason. Okay. And not to say that he knows this or not, you might just be having fun making some music, and that's awesome. But there is something that happens in this track that is really cool to kind of break down. And what I want to show you too is that this cheat sheet, which you can download, is has been unchanged for several years. So it's not like I made this now for the video and I'm just going to check off the boxes. So even on the right, you can see like the version history. If I go back to like 2023, it's pretty much still exactly the same thing. Let me just see. And then anyway, and I'm just trying to find 4 pages because I think that's the original or the most current version. But there you go, 4 pages. So that is December 2023. So 2 years ago. And anyway, just wanted to show you this. And what I want to do is I want to walk through this, kind of show you how the track is following this kind of breakdown of a tech house arrangement, what I think is the ideal kind of tech house arrangement. And then, just show you where he kind of deviates in a really cool way. And hopefully this will give you kind of guidance on arrangement and show you that arrangement doesn't need to be as scary or as crazy as you think it needs to be. It's better if you just keep it simple and you tell a simple story. And that's what we're going to get into. The whole thing about breaking down arrangement is to understand storytelling in tracks. And the two main characters in a track, in an arrangement, in the story of an arrangement, is the groove and the hooks. So the groove, for me, what I'm calling the groove right now, obviously there's other ways to talk about groove, but the way I'm going to define groove right here, right now, is drums and bass. That's it. The groove is the thing that people dance to. The groove, all right? And then the other main character is the hooks. So things that sit on top of the groove to entertain the people in the club or at the festival. So hooks are things like vocals, or some kind of like sound design lead, And a whole track can just be broken down into the story of how the hooks and groove develop over time. So how things like vocals change and evolve over time, how the sound design can change and evolve over time, and how the drums and bass can change and evolve over time. And most importantly, how those all kind of relate to each other and change and evolve over time. And of course, the whole point is to kind of take the listener on an exciting roller coaster journey from start to finish so that you can create those epic moments on the dance floor that all the top tracks create, just like this one. And again, this one's a great example of following a traditional formula, breaking a little bit of a rule for a really cool effect, but keeping things extremely simple. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of takeaways from this one. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start mapping out the track using MIDI clips, and we're going to keep it pretty high level just so we don't get too bogged down and too zoomed in. We just want to see what the overall picture is, overall story is. And let's get started. Here we go. So let's just get familiar with even what we're looking at. So right here, this is going to be what I call the intro. This right here, 16 bars in this track, and even in what I, again, would call the kind of ideal arrangement. Probably for the last several years, maybe last 10 years, I would say. But anyway, so here we go. What are we looking for? So description for the intro. Intros and outros are for DJs. not producers. So keep it simple for the DJ, right? The last thing you want to do in an intro is give DJs a reason not to play something, right? If you imagine this as a percentage, like if you want, the goal would be to get like 100%, let's say, of the DJs to play it. The more crap you add in there, that percentage plummets, right? And so, yeah, just keep it simple. Go listen to like Chris Lake tracks or Fisher tracks in the beginning. Sometimes it's just kick hat because anybody could play that track. A DJ learning mixing for the very first time could mix that track in, All right, so what are the boxes that we're going to try to check off here? And by the way, I'm going to get out of the version history, and we're going to make a copy of this. And so we'll just call this Diet Coke. There we go. All right, so make a copy. There we go. So that way I can kind of check things off. Here we go. And let's get a little bit bigger. Cool. Okay, so intro, beats, right? Drums. Intro hook tees. Something unique, an identifier, kind of, these can be one and the same thing. An A section, B section, we'll talk about that. And a motif. So let's see what we got. So right away, like these guys are kind of the thing. So it's a high pass bass. And so that's what's serving as the unique thing, because a lot of times you don't get bass in the intro, whatever, that's fine. And it is serving as the identifier because it's already introducing that low end kind of melody. And that's also kind of serving as a motif of sorts for people to latch onto. Of course, this is the intro, so who cares? Because it's just for DJs. But let's also start kind of mapping out what's going on. So here we've got the beat, which is just going to be the drums. So that's just kick and clap. So actually, let's color this red because I'm going to include the kick and the beat. And for me, the kick is red. So this is just kick clap, or technically kind of kick snare clap. There we go. And then we also have a high pass on there. So I'm just going to write HP. And then down here, we've got a bass. So bass. And this is just going to be a high pass as well. It's not the full bass line. Bass HP, not full bass. And kind of a cool thing in the background, you can hear this kind of texture back there. All right, cool. So I'm just going to duplicate this over because that's what's basically going to happen. And then, all right. Okay, finally. Sorry you had to wait through that, but here we go. So now we have vocals, and so this is going to be vocal, all the girls, Vox, all the girls. Cool. So right here, let's go like this. Okay, so let's see what's going on over here. So if we come over here, do we have beats? Yes, we do. Do we have an intro hook tease? So intro hook tease is just exactly like they're doing it, which is they're just dropping the intro hook tease before the bass drop. That's exactly what this is. Just tease a little bit of the hook, the main hook of the track, right before you drop into the bass. And so that's exactly right. Now, A section, B section, do they have that? And that's why I have this little asterisk here, is because this isn't really necessary. But one thing that sometimes you could do is you could do high pass into like full kick, so high pass for 8, full kick into 8, or like no bass for 8 bars and then drop into a bass. So you can get a little bit of an A section, B section here. But again, this intros and outros are for DJs, not producers. Just keep it simple for the DJ, and that's what's going on here. So we don't have this one here. So we'll just leave it unchecked. All right. Or maybe what we could do is just, that's fine. Okay. We'll just leave it unchecked right there. All right. So next section is where we drop the bass line. Okay. So now we're going to get into the bass line. All right. So we can do like a little tiny bit of a bass edit right there because everything just kind of cuts. So just like that. Cool. And then we go into the bass drop where we drop the bass. So let's now break that down. So if we come over here, this is going to be the bass drop, just like that. We'll color that a nice red color for the drop. And this is going to be intro. Cool. And so maybe I should actually create these as MIDI clips because I probably won't have the track in there. So we'll go intro, and then we will go bass drop. And bass drop is also typically 16 bars. These lengths aren't the most important thing in the world, but it is kind of nice because a lot of DJs kind of are automatically kind of thinking 16 bar frameworks. And so just mixing in just makes it really easy for DJs to not have to think and make their job easier, which is always going to be a good thing as a producer. So it's going to be map to think about. So here we go. So now we're going to get the full beat. So we've got the full beat right here. So full drums. Now the hat comes in. You've got that steady 8-note hat. That's kind of that electro indie dance kind of influence right now. So drums definitely kind of part of the meta, you could say. And that kind of like saw wave, kind of resonancy, kind of bass type of thing. Same thing. A lot of texture on top there. There's a lot of that vinyl texture. That's crazy. I didn't notice that the first time. Ah, well, that's because it's a freaking white noise thing. Wow. Okay, I was like, what the hell? That's super loud. Okay, so this is effects white noise. We'll call it whatever. We're just going to call it effects white noise. And there we go. And we'll just kind of go like this. So... Okay, so you can hear a tantra layer, so I'm just going to call this glitch layer, and so we'll call I'm just going to color this brown for effects. So you hear that just like something is running through like a tantra or an infiltrator or Effectrix or there's so many multi-effects plugins now, but usually tantra is the one that springs to mind. All right, cool. Let's get that little kind of drum fill right there. We'll call this fill. There we go. If that may or may not become kind of a theme throughout, but there we go. This is just going to be clap, fill. All right, let's go back over to the sheet so we can see what we're kind of looking for here. Or I guess what we could do is maybe retrospectively go back. But yeah, let's try that. So... Okay, so now we're going to get a lift, all right? So this is going to be a lift. I'm trying to think the best way. Probably, what is this lift? This is like a tops lift, I'll call it. So if I go like this, cool. And I think the best way to go this is to kind of prime you in advance what's going to happen. So you can kind of see the predictive value of what we're going to be looking at rather than looking back at it. So let's head over to here like this, and we'll go over to there. Okay, so the bass drop, this is where we are right now. This is where we introduce the bass line and only the bass line. We want to teach people how to move, groove, and dance to the track before we throw the hooks on top. That's what the hook drops are for. So the hook drops are for putting the hooks on top of the groove, and that's going to be over here and over here. All right, but the bass drop is just introducing the bass line. But we can start to tease the hooks leading into the break. So what I mean by that is you can start, like, for example, if he wanted to take that vocal and put little like pieces of it in there, that's like starting to tease the hook as you move to the break, which is where the hook is usually going to come in full presentation. All right. So let's see what we're expecting. A bass line, obviously, that's the whole point of the bass drop. An A section, B section separation. The A section is usually just going to be the groove because, again, you're trying to get people to move, groove, and dance to the track. Again, this was written in 2023. This track was released in 2025. B section is going to have some kind of lift or transition. And that B section transition is going to foreshadow what's to come in the break a lot of times. Now, again, this isn't always going to be the case, but there is going to be some kind of A, B, and in the B, we're going to get some kind of lift. Corresponding drum lift with the bass. So this guy is just referring to what kind of lift we're going to get. And so a drum lift here, and then punks, edits, or ear candy, and then some kind of entry. All right. And so let's go back and then we'll kind of look at what happened. So have that in your mind. Although not everything, like, you know, you might not understand every single one of those words, and I get that, but we'll look back at it so you can see what's going on. All right, so let's move now into the second 8 bars here. Okay, and so there's some kind of like a rattle perk or something. I'm just going to color that brown, because kind of just an effecty thing. Cool. Cool. And so here we got that clap fill again. We're also getting some crashes, and I have not been listening out for crashes. Let's see if we've got any over here. So here we have crash. Okay, so do we have crash? Okay, no crashes other than right there. All right. So now we're going to get into the break, but before we get to the break, let's look at what happened in the bass drop. Okay, so over here, did we get a bass line? We sure did. Let's check it out. There's get bass line. We got the full bass line. Do we have an A section, B section? We do. We have an A section groove. Okay, and then we also have a B section here where we're getting a lift or transition. So a lift in this case is if I play from right here, maybe right here, just to give you a little bit more room. And then we go into the second 8 bars. What are you going to get? You're going to get a drum lift. And then you also get that kind of rattle synth, rattle percussion, which is kind of like what I'm talking about here with the corresponding. We're just not going to pay attention to that, right? I can only go so deep into this, so we're just going to stay kind of surface level. But that is the most important level, actually, is just to get those big things right, all right? So if I play from right here, listen for the lift. We already looked at it, but let's play it. Okay, do you hear that tops lift? Again, just steady 8th notes right there on the hi-hat. Play right here, we're going to get more tops. All right, now we're getting 16th notes. We're getting a kind of a spray hat, kind of like an airy hat. So we're getting a tops lift right there. So we got the B section lift, and then punks and edits. So if I broke this down, there would be punks here, and it's going to be in the glitch layer, but I'm just not going to break that apart because the sounds are very minor. What basically happened was something was being run through something like Tantra, and then sounds that the producer liked were kind of pulled out and strategically kind of placed in the drop. Punks are basically going to be this stands for punctuation points. I'm not going to break that down because this track is so simple. We don't need to go that deep. And again, that's probably the biggest compliment I could give a track is how simple it is. The power of simplicity. But punks just are short for punctuation points. And what that means is just punctuating important moments in an 8-bar section. So for example, at the beginning of it or halfway through, just something happens, or towards the end, something happens like an edit. Or if we even break that down even more, so at the first or halfway through, kind of at what I call the 4-bar mark, or at the end, kind of around the 8-bar mark, if we go in between those, we can think about the 2-bar mark and the 6-bar mark. So if I play these, for example, okay, nothing really happens right here other than that kind of last little clap bomb, but that's a kind of residual from over here. But if I play like around here, you'll hear something happening around here. Right, and also that kind of like reverse thing. There's going to be something happening around here that's standing out a little bit. Right? And, you know, like whatever the hell that is, just some kind of glitch thing from Tantra. And that's right there, and then also kind of downsample sound. Like, that's what I mean by punks, just little kinds of things like that. But these are kind of just taken from that kind of minimal influence right now, which is just glitches. So we're going to definitely put that there. There's definitely edits. Edits are just things that happen at the end of 8 bars. So for example, this clap bomb, I'm sorry, not clap bomb, but the clap fill is an example of an edit. This crash with the clap fill right here is an example of an edit. All right, and then over here, all that is our edits. Now, an entry into the bass drop is going to be some kind of sound that triggers the whole drop kicking off. Now, this is definitely not necessary, and that's why there's a little asterisk right there. But, and also with punks and edits, there's a little asterisk right there too. But we can see, we already mapped it out, actually.
Line for the bathroom.
Okay, that little noise on top right there that I mistook. That I'm mistaken? Whatever. That I got wrong in terms of it being like vinyl is actually just a white noise. That's an entry. It's a very gentle entry, but it is an entry. All right. And so B transition, there's no B transition. So there's no sound really that plays throughout here that pulls you into the break. So one thing you could do to pull someone into a break is to take like a piece of the vocal and just rep it up, right? I actually haven't heard that in a long time, right? If you want to hear that, that'd be something like La Danza by John Summit is the first track that comes to mind that's going to do something like that. But yeah, so this basically checks the boxes. We got the bass drop, or I'm sorry, we got the bass line, A section, B section, A section groove, B section some kind of lift. And these are the most important right there, and that's exactly what's happening. And then we're going to move into the break. Now, the most important thing though for the bass drop is where we introduce the bass line, or what I should really say is the full groove or the groove character. So this introduces the groove character, and then that groove character goes away for a second because we're going to high pass it in the break, and then we introduce the hook character. So we're introducing the bass drop, or the the groove character, and then the hook characters independently so they can come together in the first hook drop, which is where you put the hooks over the groove. Hooks over groove. All right. So here we go. Let's play this. Hold up. Let's come over to the break and let's break down the theory, you can say, before we listen to it so that, again, you can see exactly what happens. Description. Break one is where we take the groove away and introduce the hooks. Like I just said, the idea is similar to the bass drop. In the bass drop, we only introduce the bass and hold back on the hooks. We only introduce the bass and we hold back on the hooks in the bass drop. In break one, we flip this. We hold back on the groove and introduce the hooks. All right. It's crazy. Like how many times I've said this, but I wrote this so long ago. It's so true. Oh, and then literally what I was just saying, this is crazy that I'm reading. I didn't even know that. Okay, so we are introducing these characters, the groove and the hooks, to the listener separately. So we're introducing the groove character and the hook character separately. So first is the groove, then the hooks. But the listener is smart. The listener subconsciously expects that these two characters will come together. And this expectation creates a low-level tension through break one, here, which gets released into HD1 or hook drop 1 when the hooks and groove come together for the first time. All right, that's exactly right. So, man, okay, and then, so let's come over here and play this, and let's hear how all this plays out and check off the boxes. So here we go. So give them a break. Now we're looking at the boxes for what to do. Here we're going to give them a break. Okay, so we've got that little crash. Let's go right here, which is going to be your entry. So we already kind of got that, but I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We're just going to go through these. So give them a break. That means like high pass or take away the groove in some way so people stop dancing all out and instead they kind of shuffle. Now, yes, most DJs are probably going to start mixing in here, so all this stuff doesn't quite matter, but even kind of subconsciously or subliminally as the DJ's mixing this in, right, people are kind of going to get familiar with what that bass line or groove or beat feels like. So that way over here, it's already familiar, right? That's the whole point of the bass drop or introducing the bass line. All right, so right here, we are giving them a break by high passing in some way, but we don't want to completely remove the groove. We want to keep the groove alive in some way. Usually you do that by high passing. But even if you take away a lot of the groove and you just have the kick going or the hat going or the clap going or some kind of percussion going, you keep the groove alive in some way. Something keeps the rhythm. And then this is hugely important right here, is in the break, you want to introduce the main thing, the hook. Sometimes I'll say hit him with the main thing. You'll see that in other videos as well. Then these are kind of the three most important ones. You get them to kind of stop dancing, but you keep the rhythm alive, right? And then and now that they're not quite dancing all out, you hit them with the main thing. You give them the main hook to occupy their attention, right? And after you kind of do that, this is kind of the first 8 bars, then you build tension into the next drop, you build forward momentum. You say, hey, listener, something cool is going to happen. And then you transition into the drop either through like a payoff moment or some kind of momentum transition. We'll break that down a little bit, but again, not going too deep. And then a kind of asterisk level here on options would be, or very common options would be, to introduce some kind of atmosphere through the break to open things up, or to, and then also to just give a little bit of an entry to the break. So we'll go through these again, but again, I just want to cover the theory and then we'll hear it play out and then we'll come back to it so you can see us just check off the boxes. So here we go. All right, so we got that kind of percussion still going on. We got so we have the high pass beat and then we have a high pass bass. Okay, again, we have that rattle thing going on. Now we have all the girls, which is going to be that hook that was from the intro tease coming up, but this is going to be low pass up, right? So we're starting to introduce the main hook right there. Now you can hear this kind of swirly texture in the background. That is the atmosphere that I was just talking about. It creates a sense of openness. So we'll do like pad and then Atmos. So we'll go like this. Oh, I keep forgetting I don't like to do that. There we go. Okay. Sounds like this thing, this pad here thing, it's not really a pad. It's more like a drone. I don't care though. It's some kind of atmospheric sound. It almost sounds like it's made from a vocal. But okay, so let's see. We got the beat, bass. We've got the vocal coming up. We've got that atmospheric sound. We've got the rattle. Is there anything else? We got the crash. We got the white noise thing right here again. So let's put that. Okay, so the drums here are growing into a reverbs, or into a space, I should say, which will come up in a second. The vocal is low passing up. This is gaining up. So everything is starting to move even way back here. So that's good. This is kind of starting to very subtly build tension. And then let's see what else. And of course, the bass is opening up on the filter. So there we go. Cool. So now this is just going to be dry kick. So let's get rid of this. So dry kick HP for high pass, because there's just a high pass on there. So now the vocal is, let's just say full right now. This could evolve, continue to evolve, because it's been evolving up for there. Okay, this is still going. We've got this kind of cool, kind of wow, almost monophasery kind of effect on there. Or just some kind of like EQ layer that's just going up and down on the frequency spectrum. Maybe that's an effect. Maybe I'll just kind of like put this as an effect. It could also be on the bass. Like there's no reason it couldn't be on there, but I'm just going to put it as an effect, and we'll just call this like sweeping frequency. Sweeping, we'll call bandpass. Because that's what it basically is. It's just a bandpass sweeping around some kind of sound. Okay, now we got white noise up, so we'll do FX white noise up. Okay, so you can hear those crashes over here, or those. Okay, cool. And then all that stops right here. So, and then I'm going to get the title line here. Fox title, which will be this guy. And this is going to be She on That Coke Diet.
She stopped drinking.
All right.
She stopped.
Okay, so this guy. So this verbs out. for tension.
She stopped.
So this is just 1, 2, 3, 4 on the crash. So we'll just loop around that like that.
She stopped.
There's like this lower riser you can hear. It's like,
She stopped drinking.
not important though. So there we go. We got the vocal verbing out. We've got the pad. What happens to the Atmos? Okay, nothing much happens there. It just kind of goes away. So we got that sweeping bandpass thing. Let's see. Okay, it just ends going up. Got the crash, we got the white noise. Okay, and there we go. What about the drums? Ooh, the kit goes away. Okay, and then the bass goes away, but how does the bass go away? It sounds like it just kind of gains down right here.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet.
Okay, and then we got a fill right here, which is cool. So
Coke. She on that Coke diet.
Kind of 80s sounding fill right there. And then so if we come back over here, did we give him a break? Right? Did we take away the groove in some way? And absolutely by high passing it. Do we keep the groove? Let me play that. Okay, so now people are just kind of shuffling, two-stepping, keep the groove alive. Yep, it's still going. All right, it's just high passed. Introduce the main thing. Yep, you can hear that vocal coming up. It becomes full over here. So build tension. That's going to happen over here. The way to build tension is rep, roll, rise, grow. So rep is a hook repetition. Roll is snare roll, crash roll, kick roll, and then rise would be some kind of riser. Grow is growing the space. Now, these are kind of like a menu of things. It doesn't mean like if you go to a restaurant and look at a menu, you don't have to order everything on the menu, right? These are just things you can do to build tension, right? These are like the building blocks of tension. If you do one of them, you will build tension. If you do all of them, you will build a lot of tension. That's how to think about it. And so what does he do? Does he do a rep, a hook repetition? Well, kind of, because the vocal itself is repetitive, right? All right, so a little bit of a rep there. Any kind of roll, there's not any kind of snare roll. There's that little crash fill at the end. That's not really a crash roll. Crash roll would be like psh, 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 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 type of thing. That happens a lot. Rise, absolutely. There's a riser down here that's just going up. Also, all of this stuff is basically just rising up and then growing the space. Absolutely. We talked about how the drums are kind of growing back over here. Now, that's not technically a build section because it's just that the growing the space on the drums right here is just creating is a transition into the build. But over here, are things verbing out or going into a space or growing the space? Yeah. So for example, the vocal right here goes out into a space. You can also just hear the general space that's here when I play this compared to over here. So right here, you can see we're moving into the space is growing over time. And that's the whole point, because as the space grows, it kind of moves back and it makes it much more impactful when you drop into the dry drop. So, okay. So are we building tension? Absolutely. Do we have some kind of payoff? So, PIPO, P-I-P-O, stands for pattern interrupt payoff. So pattern interrupt means that you have a building pattern and then it just gets interrupted, right? What's it called? Pattern interrupt and then payoff. There you go. So build pattern, pattern interrupted, and then payoff. So P-I-P-O, pattern interrupt payoff, and then go into the drop. So this is the type of transition that he's using because the payoff is going to be the title vocal line.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet.
Awesome. There we go. And so absolutely. And do we have an atmosphere? Yep, we do, because we have the pad atmosphere. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And that's all that's going on. There's nothing else going on in there other than the boxes that we just checked. That's important to realize too, right? And again, this was written several years ago, so it's not like this is just checking off the boxes, just a good arrangement. All right. And so now we're going to go into the hook drop. So let's come over here and let's go like this. And we'll just do break 1. Cool. And then this right here is going to be hook drop 1. So hook drop 1. All right, so we got the kick or the full beat right there. So we got full, and then we got the bass. But let's look over here. So description of the hook drop. This is what we're getting into, where we put the hooks over the groove. This is going to be where kind of the theory starts to get a little bit deep, so I'm not going to dive too deep into that. We're going to kind of stay, again, surface level. But I'm going to kind of stop myself where it gets a little bit too deep. But this is where the story of the track begins. We're introduced the groove character in the bass drop. We're introduced the hook character in break 1. Now in hook drop 1, we bring the hooks and groove together for the first time. And this is what people want. Hooks over groove. This is what they want. And let's stop there, because that's kind of the most important thing to cover. We're bringing those two together. And so hooks over groove. So hook drop 1 equals the bass drop groove and the break hook coming together. All right, we don't have to go into that, but that's all that means. It means that we're putting the hooks over the groove. All right. And then what we typically will have in a hook drop is some kind of A section, B section. And this is just an example where like A section would be groove, B section would be hook, or an A section would be like a vocal, B section would be sound design. And okay, that's kind of where we're going to stop for this video because otherwise, obviously this is like an entire arrangement theory. And so that would take hours to go through, and it has, because I've gone through it, in other areas and courses and stuff and on calls and stuff. But this is really the most important stuff. So we'll just cover this. So hooks over groove. Let's check it out. One thing to point out is right here. Entry, false start, or strip. So these are just different ways to kind of go into a drop. And he definitely has a entry. You can hear that kind of like avalanche sounding kind of thing. Right, so almost like a kick bomb is what you could say. And maybe I'll just write that. So this is kind of like a kick bomb entry. So there we go. Cool, boom. And then we'll just color that brown. Awesome. Okay. Okay, and then another little entry thing that he's doing is just a white noise blast. So... and we'll just map those because why not? So just so you can hear them. So it goes bop, 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 bop. Bop, 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 bop. All right, now we're going to start getting some vocal glitches, which I'm going to put on its own track. Okay, but... all right, so cool. So that's just coke and dot, right? Just with some auto panning, or maybe just manually panning them. Nothing crazy. Okay, more of the same. Okay, same thing, but it's just the coke is faster. So here's coke, but now it's coke. There you go. So pretty simple. Okay, and then it's just kind of like a tremolo or something on that got. Yep. Now we get an edit, so... okay, and then here we're getting some kind of like pitch. Okay, that's not the resonator or anything, but then here that's just, it sounds like pitching, and this is going to be like the bass is open right here. She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that coke diet. All right, cool. And then here we get the clap fill. So clap fill. So this is an edit. We'll probably go a little bit deeper into this, but this is like over here when I was doing like A section, B section. This is an example of like groove groove with punks. So the punks are just happening at these moments. You can see something very dramatic is happening at the end. Again, punks, short for punctuation points. So you're kind of punctuating important structural moments in a drop. And the important ones are going to be at the end. So the 8, the middle would be the 4. And then you can do things in between those. So at the 2 and the 6, for example. And another easy way to think about punks, which I probably should have said earlier, is just ear candy, right? But it's structured ear candy, right? And so anytime that you hear ear candy in a track, if you just map out the structure of it, there's usually going to be 90% of the time some underlying logic to it. And so that's what punks are. Punks are just structured ear candy. And so you can see we get something around the 2, we get something around the 4, we get something around the 6, we get a big edit at the 8. And if you've been following the breakdowns or anything that I've ever talked about for a while, you'll have seen this a million times. But here we go. Let's see.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet.
So I'm just going to color that a slightly different color.
She on that Coke diet. She stopped drinking Diet Coke.
So, okay, cool.
She on that Coke diet.
All right, and that double clap kicks off the drum lift that happens right here. So if we play right here, you hear it's very similar to what's going on right here. Interestingly, we're not getting the glitch textures, the tantra textures from early in the drop. Maybe they'll come in, we'll find out, but like, yeah. So here we have the kind of dry drums, the strip back drums. Same with right here. Then if I play right here, you're going to hear the drum lift. And then right here, we're going to hear the drum lift too. All right. And so just lifting drums. So this, we'll come back to this over here with the CLT stories. All right. And then, okay, so there's the glitches. They come in over here as a lift. So let's bring this in right there. All right, let's bring that over here. And this is obviously going to continue. So we get the drum lift here. Oops. And then we get the bass. Let's go like that. Cool. Okay, let me see. Maybe what I'll do for that sound, it sounds, let me just listen. I think I'm going to treat that as a layer. So I'm not going to write open right there. We're just going to do like a bass open layer. All right. And so let's put this in right there. So we got that. So we'll put that in right there. And of course, that could just be automation on like the cutoff or something. And also maybe even the decay, who knows. But I'm just going to treat that as a layer because it'd be like if I was producing this, it'd be much easier just to add that in as a layer than to deal with a bunch of automation.
She on that Coke diet.
All right. So title line right there. And then we get this kind of nice little rep roll up. So that's just like taking the first part of the word, repping it down in audio and then gaining that up. That's cool. So rep, roll up. There we go. And that I just literally made that name up on the spot. It's just taking a little piece of the vocal and just rolling it up.
She on that Coke.
Okay, we got a little bit of a crash here. One.
She on that Coke diet.
So there we go. We got some crashes like that.
She on that Coke diet.
Okay, bass goes on for a little bit, and then it cuts right there. That's cool.
She on that.
So beat goes away.
She on that Coke diet.
Cool. And now we're getting over to the more prominent hook, which is all the girls standing in the line in the bathroom. So if we come back over here, remember, A section, B section, you could just do groove. And that's, again, what's kind of going on here. We got groove with some punks. And then the B section is going to be a more prominent hook. And so in this case, it's going to be that main vocal thing. And so that's exactly what's going on here. First example, right over there. And so we'll go like this. right. So let's go like this, but let's get rid of that and just write this is full. So we got the crash down there. We have the tops lift. We also have the glitches. So let's bring those glitches over. So like that. All right, so clap halfway through. That's the first time that we've got a clap fill halfway through. And so this is actually, let's write snares. Oh, those are actually toms, not snares. Or tom. Do, 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 do. Maybe he's pitching them down himself a little bit. So that happens at the 4-bar mark, right? So that's a good example of a very exciting, dramatic punk. So here we get just kick. This would be like a strip. So I'm just going to write strip. Strip is just kick bass. So all the drums go away. So I'm going to color that purple. There we go. What just happened? Oh God, I soloed something. There we go. Okay, and then we got our crashes again over here. Let's go like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So got to cut the drums right there. So this is just kick. So I should just write kick right there. That'll probably be easier for you. Okay, so we have that kind of open layer right there. Kick goes away. Except that last one right here. There's a kick right there. Okay. Okay, so that's all that really happens right there. So we have the hook drop 1 would be A equals groove plus Vox chop punks. There you go. And then the B section is going to be, I guess we can go like this and then delete that. So the B section is going to be basically all the girls. So big vocal, all the girls like that. Okay, so we can also code this black and white just to kind of highlight the sectional contrast. All right, there we go. So she on that coke diet. Okay, cool. So that is hook drop 1. And so what we could do next is go and look at how these boxes are being checked off. So do we have hooks over groove? Absolutely. You got vocal chops and glitches over the groove, but most importantly, in the B section, we have the full vocal that was playing over here coming back on top of the groove, right? Because that's the whole point. The bass drop plus break 1 equals hook drop 1, right? Because the groove and the hook that gets introduced over here, they come together typically somewhere in this drop. Now, here, since it was about, a bunch of vocal, you can drop into a groove for a little bit of a while with some vocal chops. But then in the B section, we get the vocal that was playing over here. So this right here, this little section, the B section, is really the big payoff that came from these guys. All right, so here we get the groove, then we get the hook, and then those two come together in a big way right there. And so that kind of completes the equation, you can say. All right, so HG1 equation completed. A section, B section, yep, we've been looking at the whole time. A section CLT, so this just means like, is there some kind of lift or transition in the A section? And there is, because we get that kind of nice little drum lift right there. So there we go. B section CLT, no, because the B section is really just 8 bars, unless there's some kind of transition. Let's see. Not really though. So no B section because it's just 8 bars. Typically a CLT story would be like if it's longer than 8 bars. So nothing really there. AB edit just means, is there an edit between the A section and the B section, a dramatic edit? And there is. So if we play it. She on that coke diet. Boom. So we get things cutting out in a big way there. So absolutely an AB edit. Are there punks and edits and ear candy? Absolutely. We got the glitches. We got the claps. We've got the vocals that we just broke down. Is there a full development? So full development means basically, is there a full development in the drums? And I mean, the drums are in full, so we'll just check that off, but it's not really like a big development over and above what happened to the bass drop. And that's kind of typical. That's why this guy is going to have like a little bit of an asterisk, is because sometimes what you do is you can keep the drum stripped back a little bit, but that way when you get into HG1, you can give a fuller presentation of the drums so that it just feels bigger when you go out of the break into here, you know? And so maybe you have like a main 909 hi-hat or something in hook drop 1, but over here in the bass drop, you just have like a closed hat to keep it a little bit smaller. And then you get that nice big lift right there. But in this case, they're pretty much the same. All right. And so not really a full development, so at all. Yeah, maybe we'll just do that. Full bass, full lifts. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. So not really a development there. But other than that, other than the B section and the full development, just checking off the most important boxes, which are going to be these guys up here like we were talking about. All right, so now we're getting into the main break and build. That's going to be this guy right here. And let's kind of look at the theory of the main break and build. Try not to go too deep, just give the overview so that it makes sense as we look at the track. In the main break and build, we take away what they want. What the listener wants is they want the hook over the groove. That's what they want. That's what, like, think about, like, Hugel has that label called Make the Girls Dance or Make Girls Dance, or I forgot what exactly, but Make Girls Dance. That's what all these tracks are there to do, you know? And so when I say they, it's the girls in the club, right? What do they want? They want like a cool, big vocal that, you know, ideally they know it. You know, if you look at the top Beatport charts, almost all of them are going to be remixes of huge tracks. Not always, but I would say probably like 70% of the time. They want the hooks that they know over a groove that they can dance to, right? They're just trying to have fun. So, but what we do in the main break and build is we take that away. We take away what they want. And of course, they want the hooks over the groove. And we take it away in some way. And the hooks over the groove is the drug, the blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is the most important part. We just take it away in some way. And let's see. The most important structure of the main break and build is the V taper. So we have down energy and then up energy. We ease them down and then we build them back up. And so let's look at that. So coming out of here, let's just also look at all this is. Okay. So we're going to have a transition into the main break and build. There's only really 3 transitions. We're going to have the V taper, which is down then up, lowest to highest. Another way of saying that, we have down energy, steps. We're going to have a turning point, which is where you switch from the down to the up. Basement is going to be the lowest energy point. Sometimes I'll call that the break or the spotlight, because a lot of times that's where you'll have the spotlight. Again, we're going to walk through this. So a lot of this might be just freaking gibberish right now, but that's okay. Basement. Then we're going to have the up energy build. Once again, rep, roll, rise, grow, some kind of pipe or momentum transition. And then the question is there going to be some kind of elevation over break 1, right? You can already see that there is. Look at this, that freaking wall of sound. Plus this is longer, you know, which is 99% of the time. This one's going to be longer. You can draw it out a little bit more. Maybe we'll break down why. But then no payoff extensions. That's funny. And there's no payoff extension. Payoff extension is where the drop is going to be at like a different time other than expected, right? Where the drop does not land on time. Like getting an Amazon package not on time is the worst thing in the world. Same with drops. Just freaking delivered on time. All right, so here we go. Let's play.
All the girls standing in the line for the bathroom.
Okay, so transitioning into the main break and build, they're doing what I call a high pass settle, where you're settling the energy through a high pass. Another thing you can do, which is very popular, is going into a strip, which is just kick, bass, hook. You've heard that a million times. I'm trying to think of a track off the top of my head. Maybe John Summit LaDonza does it, or does he do a high pass settle? I forgot. Anyway, doesn't matter. I think West End Drum Death. It doesn't matter. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but so many tracks do this. And then cliff dive is where you just go into nothing, basically. Maybe an atmosphere, maybe a hook, but you completely remove the groove in a cliff dive. But here we're just doing a high pass settle. So we're just going a high pass. All right, so let's take the drums and we'll just change this to HP. And there you go. That's our transition right there. Nothing crazy. And then, although one thing we are getting that's crazy is that white noise that we had as an entry has now turned into a rattle. So if we listen over here, very simple white noise, but here, hold up, right here, Hear that? That little white noise rattle? Okay, look at that. Okay, white noise rattle down. Cool. And sweet. So let's go. Okay, but the reason why that white noise rattled down, rattle doesn't mean anything. It just sounds like it's right. Some kind of LFO on the noise or something. And the reason why this is important is because it is explicitly communicating the down energy. By that white noise going down, that's literally saying we are bringing the energy down. And that's why, like, when people are hating on effects, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Effects are really helpful tools, very effective tools in directly communicating what you want someone to feel. Like a crash is an accent effect because it accents a moment. It screams, this is exciting, this is important, you know? This effect right here, this kind of down lifter is extremely important because it's communicating the settling down of energy so people know what to feel. Now, there's many different ways that you can do that, right? You could use another sound in the track to create your own effects that way, but you have to communicate it somewhere. And the nice thing about effects, just out of the gate, like white noise and all those things, is that they just directly communicate it. It's very on the nose, which is probably why people don't like it, because it doesn't feel creative, but it's extremely effective. And so if you don't like effect, you can always make something feel stronger in the emotion and what you want them to feel if you actually use effects. And you can just tuck them in there. They don't need to be prominent, but if you tuck them in there, without question, you're going to communicate the emotion or the feeling that you want. And so that's what this is doing right here. It's communicating the lower state of energy that we're stepping into.
All the girls standing in the line for the bathroom.
All right, so the bass, we've got the high pass there, and then we also have that kind of like sweeping band pass that steps in right there. Cool. So you can hear this vocal kind of like gaining up or low passing up. We'll just write LP up, LP up. There we go. So this little movement right here makes me think that this sweeping bandpass sound is a loop, because listen to how this doesn't glide. It just restarts. And it could be automation, but I doubt it, you know? And that makes me happy. Like I like hearing that stuff, because when every producer in the world, you know, that's not getting signed or something is scared of using loops or not, it's like, dude, chill out and use a freaking loop. Like, make your, why take the path of most resistance? You know, take the path of least resistance. Find something cool. Music is assembly. Take something that you like and bring it into your track. You know, it's really that simple. And like, listen to this kind of glitch right there, that reset. See, it goes up and then it just immediately restarts, which sounds like there's like a loop. And then the producer was like, hey, I want that to keep going, so let's hit Command D. You know, that's it. It's that simple. That little kind of rattle, that was kind of cool. Now, there's a delay on there that it sounds like. That's why you're getting this nice kind of wide version of that sound. So this is kind of more like gaining up. Gaining up. Cool. Okay, so a little bit of a clap fill right there. Let's move that over. And then we get this nice little crash down here. Cool. Okay, so now there's no kick, so no kick. Now, removing the kick is a really cool move because it completely removes the anchor of a track. And just removing the kick, is that MP? Yeah. Removing the anchor of the track makes the track almost float. People feel like they're floating because they're not anchored, you know? And it just fundamentally builds tension. Like if you don't have that anchor, you don't have that stability, that grounding beneath your feet, it just feels like you just feel tension. So that's a great move. I love that. Okay, so no kick. No kick. Okay, so this guy, let's just get rid of that. Sounds full for now, so we'll go full. Okay, this guy's continuing. Okay, so this is starting to open around here. So bass, HP, bass is opening. I'm talking about the cutoff. Okay, well, you hear that pad Atmos coming up, so this is gaining up. And right around here, you can hear it. Whatever it is. So this is gaining up. Cool. All right, cool. So what happens here? So this continues, bass continues. Hold up. Whoa, that's cool. So this is something actually that I don't hear a lot. And this isn't the kind of quote rule that he's breaking, but actually the bass line itself is starting to rep right here. So this is a bass rep, HP bass rep, which is really cool. That's not something you hear a lot. And I'm going to color that. That's cool. I don't even remember that, hearing that the first time. That's sick. See, the vocal's still going, but the bass is actually repping. That's sick. Okay, the vocal's gaining up. That's the atmosphere. We got the sweep right there. Obviously, there's a snare roll coming in. So let's go down here. We got the snare roll. And then we will just go like that. Just a 16th note snare roll. So... Okay, so this is some kind of like crazy effects, crazy wobble, riser, up. Just trying to throw as many words as I can at it. Let's see. Where does that start? Okay, so this just, and then like this grows out. Or verbs out. So this is doing something weird too. So low pass down, then up, plus some other things. I'm just going to literally write that vaguely. Plus other things. And then you can hear the snare roll even pitching up. Like, what is going on right here? That's kind of interesting. You can hear the bass go back to the normal thing, doo-doo-doo-doo, and then reps again. Weird. Oh, God, this is cool. This is really cool. You hear that? Watch. And then goes back to the rep. So this just like pitches up, it sounds like. Pitch up. And then we have like kind of the white noise up. All right, and then we get the Vox title line right there. But there we go. And then we go into HT2. So this is the main break and build. And let's now kind of break this down over here. So if we go back to the Chrome, okay, let's see. So transition into main break and build. We have the high pass settle. So there we go. So we go from drop into high pass. There you go. And then you can see right here. Oh, wow. I don't have entry written here. This is crazy. Well, I need to add that for sure. So entry kind of false start, like over here in the break one, I have it. But definitely in the main break and build, you can have an entry as well. Okay, but V taper, down then up. So are we going down? Well, you got to realize that from the drop, we're taking steps down. So this is a step down. Now, they have a 24 bar drop, or I'm sorry, 24 bar main break and build. If you have like a 32 bar main break and build, it's a lot easier to kind of drop down. So this is kind of like a flat section. And then you go into the build. So this is kind of like break. And then this is kind of like build. And so if you had another 8 bars before this one, you would see this kind of nice movement down where it'd be like very peak energy and then step down again. So you get this clear downward movement here. So it'd be very easy to see that kind of like V because it'd be like down and then up. But you can still see it because we're just doing one stage of going down, which is going from the drop and then stepping down into the break right here. All right. And then, of course, you could clearly and visually see the up. All right. So you can see that step down and then you can see the movement up visually. All right. And so we're definitely getting that V taper and then lowest to highest. So right here, this would be almost the lowest section of the track because nowhere else in the track, I think, let me see. Nowhere else is the kick removed, right? So right here, that's the lowest energy of the track. So we're kind of going down. And then right here, the turning point, which is where you're switching from the break to the build, you have to do something. So let's talk right here. So at the turning point between the break and the build, you have to do something. You have to make a definitive move. Are you going to step up and build, or are you going to step down in some way? And here, they're stepping down because they're removing the kick. If you remove the kick, it's going to be a step down no matter what else happens because the kick is like king, right? You're removing the anchor. So that's a step down right there. So we have a definitive turning point by removing the kick. We have that lowest energy point now, which is right here. And then we're moving to the highest energy point, as you can see from the density right there. So we have the lowest to highest. We have the downward energy, that step down right there, as it says right there, just steps. And it steps is plural, of course, because typically if you have like a 32 bar break, you'll be able to step down in stages. But here we just have one stage of stepping down because it's only an 8 bar kind of break. And then the basement lowest can be, so we definitely have that lowest point right there. This would typically be kind of what I would call the basement, but since we don't have any kind of section preceding that, I'm actually going to say we don't have a basement right here, which is fine. Clearly, we have the up energy section right here, which is the build section. Rep, roll, rise, grow. We have the rep. We have a bass rep. The vocal is repping by nature because that's the vocal itself. We've got a snare roll in this case. We've got the risers. We've got that crazy wobble riser that I labeled. We also have the white noise riser. We have the grow. We have the vocal growing right here. If I just play right here, you can hear the space that's what you're in, which is the whole point of growing the space. And then, of course, we have the pattern interrupt payoff over here.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke.
Okay, just, oh, what?
She stopped drinking.
Hold up. That's cool.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke.
And you get the can. Oh my God, that is cool. All right, so soda can. I'm actually going to put that with the vocal just because that's so sick.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke.
That's really cool.
Diet Coke. She on that Coke.
Little thematic move right there. That's cool. So we got the pipo, the pattern interrupt payoff, elevation over break 1. More dramatic and longer build, drag out, make them wait. So is it more dramatic? Of course it's more dramatic. Like, look, like, obviously that it's longer. And so we definitely have the elevation over break 1. the cool thing is we also have an elevation in the piepo or the payoff moment over break one, because here we get the can sound.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke.
But here we don't.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that.
All right. And so we get that elevation too. No payoff extensions. There we go. And so the only box that's missing here is what I would call the basement, but that's simply structural because there's not, it's not a 32 bar build. I guess technically this would be the basement in that case. I wouldn't even call it the basement though. I'd call it the break, slash the spotlight, but I'm not going to kind of change this right now. We're just going to leave that one unchecked, but everything else is checked right there. And so there you go. All right, so let's see what happens next.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet. Coke diet.
Are those supposed to be sips?
She on that Coke diet.
Oh no, those are sniffs. Oh my gosh. That's really funny. I'm pretty sure those are sniffs. All right, and then we have soda can.
Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet.
All right, there we go. And then we go into the second drop. So let's now color this blue. So we go like this, and then we have break, and then we have build. Cool. And then getting into here.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke.
Okay, cool. So let's maybe go 24. Cool. And then we'll just go like this. So this is going to be a hook drop 2. So this is going to be kick and clap. Where does that come in? Nice. Okay, that's going 8 bars. So we got a strip right here. So this is going to be kick, clap, snare. And I'm going to color this purple again because this is what I call a strip. You can call it a fake drop. But strip for me is just strip back the drums, right? So you got kick, clap, and then you've got the bass. And this one has the bass layer wide open on it. It's probably the automation, just listening to what's going on over here. It sounds like that sound is coming up through the automation on the bass, but I'm just going to add it as a layer. You know, you could totally do this as a layer as well.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet. She stopped drinking Diet Coke.
All right, and now he's hammering the payoff, which is getting us into the territory where he's deviating from what you would call the traditional setup, which is cool. And this is something that producers really like doing. Producers want to know, how do I make the second drop different from the first? And most of the time I tell them, you don't need to. You really don't. And there's actually extremely important reasons why the first drop and the second drop should be very similar to each other. But this is a good example of a track that breaks that rule where the first drop and the second drop are very similar. This track breaks that rule, and to a great effect. And I'll break that down. But before we break that down, let's understand what the traditional kind of theory is, you could say, and then what this track is doing instead. So hook drop 2 is what it's all about. We introduced the groove in the bass drop. We introduced the hooks in break 1, right? So we looked at that. Introduced the groove, so drums and the bass over here. Introduced the hook over here. All the girls standing in line in the bathroom. She on the Coke diet, whatever, right there in the payoff. And then they came together over here in the first drop, especially in the B section of the first drop, because the first drop, HD1, equals the bass drop plus break 1. The groove from the bass drop, the break from break 1, okay? And then moving along, we brought the hooks and groove together in HD1 and gave the listener what they wanted. We got them hooked. And then we took the hooks over groove away from them in the main break and build, which is what this is all about. So you're not getting the full groove here, right? You're not even getting the full hook. You're just getting this weird kind of bandpass kind of sound right there. And then here you're getting the hook, but there's no groove. You got that bass, but you're not getting the real groove. You're not getting the full drums and the bass. And so this is what I mean by the hooks and groove are separated in some way. They're separated. They're not playing together in full, which is what the listener wants. And because they're not playing in full together, that creates tension. And you can And all this over here, all these sounds, the drums, the snare roll, the risers, the reverb that's growing out, all of that exists because it's doubling down on the underlying tension that the hooks are not over the groove. That's what's really creating the tension. The fact that those two are not together is the tension. All of this stuff, the snare rolls and the risers and the other things, those are doubling down on the tension, but what they're also doing is they're creating anticipation. They are promising the listener that we're going to give it back to them. They're going to get the hooks and groove back. That's what that is. We're promising them. Here we're breaking them apart, and then we're promising them back over here. And that's why it's so critical a lot of times to give them back the thing that they wanted, which is what you introduced over here, right? You got them hooked, addicted in a way over here. You broke that apart and then you gave it back. It's like 2-year-old psychology, is give them what they want over here, take it away, and then give it back to them. So you give a 2-year-old a toy. They're happy. You take the toy away and they start crying. Well, I want it back. I want it back. And then you say, oh, okay, well, here, have it back. And now they're happy again. Literally the psychology of a song and a listener, all right, which I think is what we're going to talk about here. Well, then we took the hooks over groove away from them in main, break, and build over there. Yep. Which made them cry, right? They want it back. So we double down on that tension. We made them wait, right? We made them wait here longer than they needed to wait here. Why are we able to make them wait longer here than over here? Because over here, they don't know what they're getting yet. But over here, they know what they're getting. They've already heard it. And so you can make them wait for it because they want it that much more. They know what they had. They don't have it now, but they want it back. So you make them wait for it. You double down on that tension, and then you give it to them. All right? So we doubled down on the tension. We made them wait. Finally, at the peak of that tension, we give them what they want again in HT2, and that's right here. All right? Yeah, and so that breaks down why HT1 and HT2 are virtually the same in so many top tracks. You give them something cool, then you take it away, and then you give it back to them. If you change HT2 up too much, it's like saying, here are some Skittles. Do you like those? Cool. Well, let me take those away. Okay, do you want the Skittles back? Okay, well, here's an apple. They're not going to like that, right? Apples are good, but they don't want an apple. They want Skittles, right? Or whatever, insert whatever candy is, all right? They're like, no thanks, you suck. Just give me the cool thing. Just give them the thing that they want, all right? Now, this track kind of breaks that in a little bit, in a good way, though. So, all right, so in HT2, what are the boxes that we got to check? Deliver the drop on time, so no payoff extensions. We saw that over here. Payoff extension would be like, if the producer just like, move this over here, and then like this was over here, and he was building tension all the way over to like here, So now the drop starts later than what you would expect. That's a payoff extension, that thing. But this is not a payoff extension. This is a pipo, right? You're building, and then the drop lands on time when you would expect it to, all right? So no payoff extensions. Okay, so in HT2, do we get hooks over groove? Do we get an A section, B section? Do we get some kind of lift or transition in the A section, B sections? Do we get an edit between the A section, B section? Do we get punks, edits, or ear candy? Is there an elevation over HT1, hook drop 1? Are we front-loading the energy in any way? Are there punks and edits, which is already up there? Okay, so I can get rid of that. And we'll just do ear candy. And then is there some kind of interesting way to start it? So an entry, a false start, or a strip. And we already saw that they're doing that. But let's come back to this checklist after we kind of walk through everything in this drop. Okay, so here we go. So right away, starting on the strip. But the thing now that we're not getting is over here, we started with just kind of the groove, right? But here we're already denying expectations in a way by going into the strip, but also we have the bass wide open. So this is super energetic. And then we start getting this alternating between the bass open, the tidal line, the bass open, the tidal line. All right.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet. She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet.
Okay, and then We get a cool glitch right there. And then we have the fill right here, which is the 80s snare. So we can copy that from the hook drop or the payoff in the first break, because that's the same thing right there. So that's just a bunch of glitching. Beat repeat, you can either do that with or just do it manually. So this is pitch and glitch. Pitch and glitch. And then we got the crashes right here. Let's push those out. There we go. All right, and now we get into the full drums here. And then here we get all the girls standing in line. So right here, cutoff kind of opens up. So cut off, up, down. Okay, now we're gonna get a clap fill right there. So let's zoom in and clap fill. Cool. Okay, and now we're getting the title. Okay, and then there's a 16th right here. So we got a 16th hat lift. 16th hat lift. So no drum lifts over here. Again, an interesting thing, but here we get a 16th. That's just straight 8th notes, but here we get the 16th. She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet. She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet. So this opens. And then for some reason, I mean, that's an interesting choice. We're getting the lift over there at the end. I think the glitches come over here, and then they stay right there. We're going to go like this, and then we'll just move the bass over as well. Let's see what happens over here. Okay, and then we're getting the glitches from back over there. So let's bring these over right there. She stopped drinking Diet Coke. And then we got the title right here. She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet. Okay, so there we go. So this is pitch. She on that Coke diet. Okay. She on that Coke. So drums go away, and then here. Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet. And then drums go away there too. She on that Coke diet. Glitch goes away, and then just that pitch down. She on that Coke diet. Okay, cool. So this drop, how is it breaking the rule? Well, it's breaking the rule because like it's just not really related to what's going on before at all. Well, not at all. I shouldn't say that. It's a little bit dramatic, but the pattern that was created over here doesn't really show up over here, and that's kind of the key thing. Is like if you're going to introduce a pattern in a drop, then bring it back. And for most producers, they really should do that because you should just get in the habit of following that rule, learn it before you break it. Now, why does this work? Now, the reason why this works right here is because obviously the groove is still going. It's the same groove. It's still the same vocals. It's just a different pattern of the vocals. And the reason why I think that this works and is so effective other than that is because now in Hook Drop 2, the most exciting part of the song is you're just getting hammered with the title line, right? Like the most important thing in a drop is at the top of the list for both of these is hooks over groove. If it's a hook drop, it's hooks over groove, the thing that people want. And so the hooks over groove that they're getting in the last drop right here are the biggest ones, and they're just getting hammered with them. So here we got the title line. Well, here we got a big bass, the biggest the bass has been in the track at the most exciting moment of the entire track. Just highlighted because of the strip. And then here we have the title line. Another big bass. So just the biggest moments of the track are happening here with still the same hooks, just in a slightly different pattern. And then here we're moving into what was the B section of this drop. But here, this is just now the second 8 bars. Now, the reason why I really like this as a choice is because this vocal, in its repetitive nature, just really gets the energy going, and that's when all the drums kick back in. And so this really just picks things up again. And then over here in the third 8 bars, now we're just going to get to this alternating between the title and all the girls line. She stopped drinking Diet Coke, she on that Coke. And a little bit, and you can see the progressive lifting in the drums here. So here we just have kick and clap, right? And then here we get a lift with the kind of normal drums, the steady 8th note tops. Here we're getting a lift with the 16th notes in the drums. And then here we're getting a lift with those tops that we heard earlier. Kind of that really bright spray hat. So you can see this kind of progressive lifting going on in the drums, and then also this kind of exciting changing of the vocal pattern. So here with the title, here with the all the girls, and then here with the alternating between the two, which it's just kind of cool. She stopped drinking Diet Coke, she on that Coke diet. All the girls standing in the line for the bathroom. And then that alternates, and then just stepping down here a little bit, at least in terms of the hooks, and in terms of the groove steps up because we have that tops lift from earlier, but the vocals step down back to the kind of intro pattern back over here with the kind of vocal glitches as you move towards the outro. So kind of a little bit of a flipping there, which is kind of cool. So again, it breaks the rules in the sense that HD1 and HD2 don't have a kind of similar pattern of hooks that are presented, but the reason why it's cool is because the reason why the pattern is broken is because the new pattern is just a pattern that is hammering the title line and the biggest hooks in the track, which is that open bass, again the title line, and then the All the Girls Say, and then 8 bars of the title line, 8 bars of All the Girls Say, and then 8 bars of those two alternating together, which is, again, a really cool kind of pattern in and of itself to set up right there. And so, yeah, that's pretty sweet. And then just stepping down a little bit, at least as the hooks are concerned, as you move to the outro. And so let's hop back over here to HD2 and let's see what we got. Do we got hooks over groove? Absolutely. Do we have A section, B section? Not really. Not really. This is kind of like... this is almost like these two kind of adding up over to here. If anything, this is a step down. And so this is almost like a B, C, D section in a way, but CLT stories, instead of CLT stories here, what we're getting is a progressive lifting of the drums, and a kind of interesting changing of the hooks or alternating or combination of the hooks. And so this stuff right here is kind of another part of where the pattern or the kind of what you would expect breaks a little bit. But again, it's all in service of this right here. So the reason why like the kind of sub levels or even the pattern itself or the kind of sub points of the drop are getting broken because it's in the service of the most important thing is just freaking hammering them with hooks over groove. So where's the highlighter? There it is. All right, so there we go. It's in the service of hooks over groove, and that's why I think it works. So A-B edit, not really, again, because there's not any kind of transition. Elevation over HD1, absolutely, because of the hammering of the hooks, is because of the hooks over groove, the relentless hooks over groove in HD2. Front loading, you could argue that by bringing the B section vocal over here, earlier in the track, that would be front loading, but not really though, because the drums take so long to kind of pick all the way up. So I wouldn't say there's really front loading. Front loading is where you move the energy, the faster energy closer to the front. Punks and ear candy, not really. maybe because of the glitchies that they're there, but the most important thing is just the presentation of the hooks is this. This is why I love this track, is because it's just this ruthless kind of priority of hooks over groove above everything else. And then entry, false start, absolutely. We have the strip right there. All right. And so you can see in HT2, they're breaking the rules. A lot of the kind of bringing back the hook pattern, but then that also downstream or down the line kind of breaks these other patterns that we kind of expect. But the reason why I like it and the reason why I think it's effective is because it's in the service of hooks over groove. You're just getting freaking hammered by the main hooks of the track. And I can only say that so many ways. So there you go. And let's now move on to the outro and see what we got. So.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet.
Okay, and then we get that white noise right here. So let's put that guy in there. We still get the 16th note lift right here.
She on that Coke diet.
Now, you could argue that this is part of the drop. I just wouldn't. I mean, I totally get why someone would say that. For me, this is just outro. I guess technically this is where the outro would start, but that's just weird. I don't know why there would be 5 sections. So I'm just going to just brute force consider that. I'm going to impose my own will on the track and just say that this is the outro right here. But there you go. Okay. Outro is typically going to be defined as when the hooks are not there anymore. You know, sometimes you can have a piece of the hook still continuing, but you know, at this point, again, let's go back up here, right? Which I'll probably say down there. Intros and outros are for DJs, not producers. If we come down to the outro, do I say the same thing? Intros and outros are for DJs, not producers. Keep it simple for the DJ, groove, and then break down to beats. So let's see. So here we got groove A section, beats B section. Okay, and then there we go. So that's it. So what else happens?
She on that Coke diet.
Get a little bit of a clap fill. So we don't have the 16th note lift. So this is probably really the outro, but I'm still going to just be in denial right now.
She on that Coke diet.
Okay, no glitchies, just some kind of the drum punks that we were listening earlier, so... Big clap bomb right there. So this is just kick hat. All right. HP.
She stopped drinking Diet Coke.
So we do have a little bit of a happy ending here. So I actually don't hear these very often, right? Hear this happy ending. So we have a groove, and then we don't necessarily break down to beats. We break down to a high pass. So right here.
Stop drinking Diet Coke. She on that Coke diet.
There we go. And there definitely is that prominent kind of like vinyl playing. But all right, so cool. Again, probably the 2 biggest things to talk about with this track, well, 3 would be the vocal. That's a little bit of a miss that I didn't point that out earlier. But the whole hook of the track is that vocal. And that vocal can stand completely on its own to serve as the track hook, like the 2 vocals, right? The Coke Diet line and then all the girls standing in line at the bathroom. Completely stands on its own. Like the only other hook in there really is the bass sound that kind of plays. But Other than that, it's mostly just completely resting on the merits of the lyric. And yeah, so that's awesome. And that's a man, that says so much because producers try to just do the most, you can say. And a lot of times I tell them, man, just do the least, not in a bad way, but because of the power of simplicity. It's like, dude, no one's going to forget that track. No one's going to forget it when they hear it because that vocal is so powerful. And I've said this many times, but like there's a lot of tracks that have been coming out lately that have really good vocals, like Fancy Shit. I like money, fancy shit, buy me stuff. I know you're rich. That's an amazing line, dude. And then also there's I've said it before, the I don't trust a soul, I don't even trust my bitch. That's a sick line. Man, there's been a couple other ones, but this is a really good one too from Kanye in the remix of the NERD song. But she stopped eating Diet Coke. She's on that Coke diet. Like, that's badass. You could build an entire track just like this producer did around that hook. So that's number one. Number two is like just following the HG2 formula. Like, look, like that's why I even wanted to do this, is because you can see it's just checking off 90% of the boxes. And this one's just a minor box. It's not even a technical one. So same with this. This is just an asterisk. Asterisk, 90% of the boxes, 95% of the boxes are just checked off. And which brings me to the second one, is that probably the most important box though is deviated from. It's that Picasso quote, which is learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. And the funny thing is like, if you break the rules like an artist, then that makes me a little bit skeptical, because you're going to do some kind of self-indulgent thing. Or not you, but like producers can do some kind of self-indulgent thing at the expense of the listener's experience. And that's fine. Like, that's a producer's decision to make. If they want to indulge themselves and do something that's, what they deem to be creative, go for it. You know what I mean? But if it's at the expense of the listener's experience, then it's just at the expense of the listener's experience. It's going to be diluting the experience. But in this case, this deviation from the kind of the formula is not at the expense of the listener's experience. If anything, it heightens the listener's experience because of its emphasis. The break in the pattern, the break is that it starts to emphasize the main hook over the groove. It gives you all the big hooks in the track over the groove. The bass, the open bass, the title line is now over the drop, and then also all the girls standing in line, and then the alternating between the title line and all the girls line, like just hammering them with the hooks. And that is not at the listener's expense. That is at the listener's benefit, And so that's why I think this really works. And so I think those are the three things. It's just that finding an incredible hook, an undeniable hook. Two is following the formula. And three, if you're going to break it, like, don't do it at the expense of the listener's experience. Do it to the benefit of the listener's experience. And I think this track is a perfect example of that. I think that's all I got. But of course, you can download this MIDI map for yourself if you want to use it. I highly recommend going through this exercise yourself. If you've got any questions, leave them down below. If you have your own insights about this track, leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next breakdown. Peace.